Hello everybody, welcome back once again to the Suikoden 2 walkthrough. Alright, so we are in Muse, and I think we've got or we can do the, oh boy, what is that? The little mission into Highland there, into the Highland, base. Alright, so anyways, what are we trying to do here? So I'm just taking a look at what runes I've got equipped. I had mentioned this in, I think, the previous video, but basically any time that I'm in Muse that I'm actually able to get in here to the rune shop, I always try to check and make sure, or check if there is a Fury rune. I've actually, I'm getting towards the end of the game right now, and actually Muse for me is basically empty, and I don't know if that's the case or I should say, I don't know if that's going to be the case kind of from here on out where I'm at, so I would say, you know, if you like those Fury runes, or if you want to pick up a couple of them, try to do that now. Unfortunately, though, you know, it's a rare find, and the rare finds only reset once every half an hour, so basically, you know, you can go in there, save in the inn, check the rune master, and you know, if it doesn't have a rare find, you just reset your game. But if it does, and you actually buy a Fury rune, you can, you know, save at that point. But keep in mind, you know, you're not going to be able to get another one for another half hour after that. So, with that being said, you know, it's a time-consuming process if you want to get multiple Fury runes. So, I guess, you know, again, keep that in mind. But there also is, you know, periodic times in the game where you're not able to return to Muse to get those Fury runes. So again, kind of one of those deals where you want to strike while the iron's hot. So here is the forest, and oh, that's right. So I actually had a really, oh, there we go, belt of strength. For whatever reason, one of the times I came through here, I had a really tough time finding that belt of strength. I just kept running through the forest to like the wrong spots. So here I'm kind of just deciding whether or not to use those. Now, those belt of strengths, I don't know, they're okay. They're not that great. But there also is an enemy in here, actually in the forest, that will drop those as well. So, you know, I guess if you wanted some, you could certainly farm them. But I'll be honest, I don't think that they're really that good. And certainly not good enough, I think, to spend any real time farming here. So here's the rabbits right here. Again, those are the ones that have, I should say, these are the ones that have the belt of strength. So there I got a circuit, whatever, I don't know if I'm saying that right, probably not, in the treasure chest there. That's another helmet now that's, I would say, I mean, it's not very good just because I've been to Rock Axe a couple of times and just picked up a couple, I think it's headgear. That's kind of like its upgrade almost, sort of, kind of. You know, certain people can wear certain helmets, and, you know, there's basically like heavier type helmets that, again, you know, certain people can use and certain people can't, so. But I kind of, it seems to me that the circuit is a almost an all-around helmet that almost anybody can use. And again, I think or I should say, I think that I think it's the headgear from Rock Axe is basically, I think anybody that can use that can probably use the circuit. So I should say, anyone that can use the circuit can use the headgear. And again, that's pretty much a huge upgrade over that. So again, anyways, long story short there. It's not something that I'm probably going to bother even equipping. Now, basically that's the only two treasures in this area. Keep in mind, once we leave this area, I don't think it's even possible for the entire rest of the game to get back here. Why is that relevant? Well, we've got some battles with Highland soldiers coming up here. And, you know, I've mentioned this in the earlier, or a couple of the earlier videos, but the enemies, based on where they're at, is actually kind of what determines their drops, not necessarily the enemy themselves, because you'll run into certain enemies like the Holly Boy and the Woodpecker in multiple areas. But again, their drops actually changed based on where they're at. So, in this case, we are going to be fighting Highland soldiers here in a little while. And the Highland soldiers are going to drop here specifically. They have a chance to drop the Silence Rune. Now, the Silence Rune can be attached to your weapons, and they will randomly basically seal the spells that your enemies can use. Now, I'll be completely honest, I don't think that they're good at all. I'm gonna farm up maybe one or two of them just because, just to have them. But again, I actually don't think that they're all that useful. And I mean, there might be certain times that they are, but I just can't really think of any. So, and then on top of that, I'll be honest, I think that for certain characters, like again, I kind of mentioned this in the previous video there with Hannah. So Hannah's not able to do very much physical damage because she's kind of she's a bit of a tank. And so in her case, I think things like the down rune are kind of useful. So it's not necessarily, gonna work on everything, but just because she has such kind of crummy damage anyway, certain things like that I think just make a little bit more sense. Whereas someone like the hero, say, that's got a decent amount of damage and can and put a bit more out, I think certain other runes like the kindness rune, the exertion rune, maybe even like a fire rune is kind of a good deal, because like the fire rune, I believe specifically, is able to add like a certain percentage to your damage. So again, on someone like the hero where you're doing more damage, it's going to do more for you. Whereas again, you put that same fire rune on somebody like Hannah, and it's just not really going to do that much. So again, that's kind of the way I look at it. So that being said, something like the Silence Rune would possibly be decent on, again, somebody that's just not able to do that much damage, and you kind of want a little bit more, well, I'll just say utility out of them instead. But the other kind of crummy thing about those runes is they just don't fire that much. So something like a 20% chance is, I mean, it's 1 in 5, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those deals where you don't want to count on it. Now, there was a treasure chest back here, and you're going to want to grab that now. I think this has got the fire sealing rune, and yep, there we are. I think those actually drop. Those drop somewhere in the game too, but I just can't remember where they are or where they drop at the top of my head. So, grab it now, And again, like I had mentioned earlier, we're not going to actually be able to return to this area for the rest of the game. So, get it while you can. All right, so here we've stumbled into Jillia's tent. And kind of an interesting turn of events. Obviously, she's going to, or she has, recognized Joey and the hero from the beginning of the game there, where we were kind of being led off to the, I guess like the execution grounds almost. But here she basically covers for them. Now, she could have potentially maybe tipped off Raud to the hero and Joey being in here, but she doesn't. And whether or not that's because she fears for her life or not is questionable. I do believe she says something about pointing a knife at her. Maybe I missed that. Maybe she said that already. She says something like, is it where you come from? Is it actually that almost doesn't make sense. If she says where you here we go. Perhaps that's acceptable behavior in the city-state. Well, I mean, technically we're Highlanders, right? Joey and the hero are Highlanders, so kind of, I don't know, interesting choice of words there. Not all that important though. She's obviously not frightened at all. She's wants to prepare tea for them, so. Kind of interesting, actually. I don't think I've ever really thought about that And here Julia asks about whether or not you'll go back to, I think that was go back to Highland, right? Alright, so what are you doing here? He's a fiendish monster. Yeah, speak in your mind. His little sister, and sometimes even I don't understand. Okay. Alright, so she seems to be, you know, kind of sympathetic here to, well, the people and princess. I'm limited in what I could do. So that's actually important dialogue there, where she says, because I'm a princess and a woman, I'm limited in what I can do. So it does kind of seem like she, you know, is not wild about what her brother is doing, and unfortunately feels like she can't do much to stop him. But again, and I didn't catch this before, but that's actually a really important line. So here I'm actually just going to unequip Joey, or unequip his stuff here. I'll be honest, if I had left all this stuff on him, it wouldn't have really mattered. I had a ton of money. Yeah, I'm almost maxed out on pots right now, so. And I've had a lot of issues with my my inventory here, so to be honest, I probably should have just left everything on him. But that's alright. There's plenty of other characters to spread his old gear around. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, okay, let's go. Just totally discarding the medicine that was on him. Just, yeah. Poor Joey. Anyways. Alright, so again, you know, if you want to grab his gear, because this... Actually, no, this isn't the last opportunity you have to grab that gear from him, to be completely honest. He actually does rejoin us for a very, very short while when we get back to Muse. Alright, so... Princess was opposed to Prince Luca. Okay. So Raud knows that Julia is not wild about what her brother is up to. That being, you know, waging war and murdering people. Alright, so I don't know if you can actually get that silence rune off of this set of enemies or not, but generally I actually farm, well actually I should say you have to farm in the next area, because that's a one-time. I got some medicine. Guess that replace that medicine I just threw away. But yeah, so that's the only fight actually that you can use Joey for. I should say when farming these Highland soldiers. Alright, so even if you say I can't do that, you actually will leave Joey here. Saving mine too. Look at that, what a hero. Look at this guy. I need the power I need. Alright, so I mean that would have done some real damage there to Raud in that little group of chumps there. Because Joey is such a high level. Thanks to the Muse Matilda glitch, excuse me. Alright, so this is kind of how this is gonna play out here. You'll get attacked the first time, and then after this fight, we'll actually have the option kind of whether to leave or to continue on. And I think we want to take the second option because that allows you to just keep fighting it. Oh, nice, got a little knockdown with Anita there. Oh, and then Hannah finishes him off anyway. Good old spark rune. Alright, so unfortunately, again, didn't get that silence rune quite yet. But, alright, so you have to be really careful right here. Nanami basically asks what happens to, what happened to Joey. Yeah, always, if you want to farm here, you need to select that second option. If you take the first option, you'll actually just continue on. So, again, make sure that you're... you know, if you want to get yourself a silence rune and haven't quite got one yet, make sure you're hitting that second option. And Anita's down rune is really firing off quite a bit there. Got kind of lucky. Alright, so it looks like I've got a little cut here in my video coming up, so I'm guessing, yeah. Plunk, there we are. Okay, so there it looks like I you know, I fought a bunch of enemies, and there I had to actually throw something away. Yeah, because my inventory was completely full. The crummy thing was, if you're not careful there and you've got a full inventory, it's actually really easy to throw away, you know, those drops that you get. So, alright, did I pick the top option? Yeah, I did. Okay, so we're good to go. Alright, so we're going to continue on here. I'll be honest, I think I got 2 silence runes out of there, and I called it a day, just because, again, I just don't really foresee myself using those very much. They're not really one of my favorite runes in the game, and we're already kind of strapped for inventory space, so didn't really want to, you know, I guess contribute to that issue. And that's again the crummy thing about this game is I actually just wish that there was more storage space and you could just, you know, load up. Because unfortunately, because of the way that the some of the recipes work and stuff, you don't necessarily want to hand them in right away to when we get our cook, which will be quite a ways down the road. But again, I'm a bit of a hoarder, and I tend to like to have. I always like to kind of one of those deals where I like to have more things than I need. You know, so those are the enemies that dropped the Gale rune. Obviously didn't get one again that time, but I do have one of those floating around somewhere. Again, another one of those runes that I'm not that wild about, but again, I kind of like to at least have a couple. But alright, so we've now reached Muse, and yeah, okay, so we need to go talk to Jess. And that's going to trigger a bit of an interesting little bit of dialogue. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. And not there. Okay, alright, so there's an important meeting and we can't go in. So, we should be able to go back to the inn now, and you can see Jess is obviously in there. Enter another seater. Yes, I believe they are. So, let's again head to the inn and find out. So, at this point, it probably would be a decent time to save the game and actually check that Rune Master again. I don't know if it's been a half an hour since the last time I checked in there, but most likely, again, because I spent quite a bit of time farming those silence runes, so I just assume at this point that enough time has passed. But, alright. So, dropping the big news on Victor and Flick here. I'll show you a good trick. I like Victor's good trick. Alright, so Victor and Flick join the convoy. And at this point, again, it's a decent idea to save your game, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And again, I'll be honest, what I may have done here was done some stuff off camera and probably grabbed another Fury rune just because, again, I think that, you know, really any chance. This is just a perfect opportunity to try to go grab one. Enough time has passed to reset those rare finds. And then on top of that, you know, we've just had a perfect opportunity to save our game there. So, again, you know, hit up that rune shop if you want to try to get a Fury rune. And if you don't get it, reset your game until you do. But, alright, so let's head up to where we need to be. Okay. What's business here? Alright, so that's Victor's good trick. It's the best way to deal with government workers. Jeez. Okay. Just give him a good strong shove. All right, so Jess sort of acted there or asked, Joey and the hero. Not, and it doesn't seem like he kind of ran it by Annabelle. But, he maintains that, the information was valuable enough to merit, the giving it a shot, which, I'll be honest, yeah, and, well, I mean, and then on top of that, he just asked, it's not like he forced the hero and Joey to do that, so. Okay, no violence, no violence. Fitcher is kind of an interesting character. I had my doubts about him at first, but he really kind of proves himself throughout the game. So, kind of an interesting guy. But, okay. Did I miss that there? Did they say something about not being able to go get Joey? I think so, anyway. So, yeah, basically that, Annabelle wasn't going to be able to commit any troops to try to get him back. And again, I think it was because they were spread so thin. Hopefully I didn't misread that or misremember that, I guess I should say, because I didn't actually read what she had to say there. My bad. But all right, okay. So apparently now I'm going in to check here, and I think this was a. Oh, all right, score. Oh, party's items are full. All right, so let's throw away something because that Fury Rune is going to be way too good to pass up. Yeah, I should just get a ton of this stuff. There's just so much junk in here that I don't need right now. Yeah, so there was the 2 silence runes, if you noticed. Again, I thought 2 was more than enough. I think I stuck them on somebody, and they just kind of sat there. Probably somebody that I don't really use that much, so they, again, they just kind of sat there for the entire game and didn't really do much. But, alright, so I think this is the part, yeah, where you come outside here to wait with Nanami for Joey to come back. This scene is actually almost painfully long, and I think maybe because I've seen it a couple of times now, it feels a little lengthy, but there's some sort of important stuff here. Sort of, I would say. And then obviously we're going to agree to wait with Nanami. I don't know. The hero actually has an option there to wait or not wait. I don't know that I've ever not waited just to kind of see what would happen. But would you wait in my place? Gosh, I almost feel like, and I don't wanna really even throw this out there because I just don't remember, but I thought maybe that would have an effect on the ending, but I don't actually think that that's the case. I think most of the events that lead to the ending or things that affect the ending are much later on in the game. But it was kind of funny there. What does she say? Nanami says something about, do you remember the time that you got lost in the lewd woods? I don't know why I thought that was funny, because, it's spelled L-U-D-E, and, I mean, it's a little bit like L-E-W-D, but, whatever. I guess that's how my mind works. But yeah, here, so, obviously the hero was lost in the woods, and then Nanami says something about, what Joey basically cried the entire time. So again, I think it, speaks a little bit about their friendship. Alright, Pilico is wiped out. Let's run far away. I think Nanami suggests that a couple of times in the game, that they should run away. Alright, he's back. And gets hugs from the ladies. Kept my promise. That he did. Okay. So, good news. Joey's back. Alright, so I think at this point, or at least maybe when we wake up here, you'll want to make sure, if you want to remove Joey's equipment, as well as his runes, or any runes that he has equipped. I believe, basically, this is the last time, or in the next, few events here, you will not have that chance after those events take place. So again, grab his gear while you can, and if you want. Alright, so, yeah, here you are. And if you notice there, he's got his gear back. And that's because I actually had to reset my game. Basically, what had happened there was when I went to farm those silence runes, I didn't get any of them, and then I accidentally picked the top option to kind of end, the stream of Highland soldiers, and so I didn't have any silence runes, and there's no way to get them again, so I just had to reset my game and replay a couple of those little events that led up to that point, and then when Joey was about to leave, I didn't take off his gear, so that's why, if you're watching this and you notice that Joey's got his gear back on him, that's probably why it looked a little goofy. But alright, so here we've got a meeting of the leaders. This is actually a kind of a cool event here. You're kind of introduced to the leaders around the area, and yeah, it's actually, again, it's pretty interesting kind of how this meeting plays out. And it gives you a little bit of insight into the leaders in the area. Sort of, at least a little bit. Hear this, I guess this lady doesn't recognize Victor. And here comes Flick to save the day with his memorable face. They don't know my face, but they know yours. Okay. Alright, so let's get moving on inside. So this is, what is it, Joustin Hill or something like that? There are no items to be obtained in here, so don't worry about missing out on anything. This area is only accessible once or twice in the game, and I'll be honest, I mean, you can't really do anything in here anyway. So here's Gerudo. He's one of the leaders, and this is Camus, and Mikolatov is the other guy. It should almost be obvious here what kind of I guess it should be obvious what their character of these guys are like. So Gerudo is just incredibly rude and says basically, get out of my way, girl. Whereas Camus stops and he basically apologizes. So, it speaks a little bit about their character, I think. Alright, so he's the leader of the Matilda region, so that's Rock Axe. And alright, so this is Lord Kai, Green Hill City is Teresa, Tinto is Gustav, and South Window is Grandmire, and then Muse is Lord Hauser. Alright. So, I I think, what did it say there? Commander of the, I don't know if he's like commander of the army or something. That's Hauser's role, but Annabelle is kind of like the acting. I guess actually I don't even remember what her title is, but she kind of runs the show. Okay. So Gerudo here it doesn't, or basically there's a rumor floating around, and what does Gerudo say? Something about it was a trick by, I don't know, bandits or something, and that's who burned Victor's fort down. And was it Grandmeyer there was like, do you really believe that, mountain bandits could take down the mercenary fort? And then here Gerudo kind of, I don't know, it kind of insults Teresa a bit by saying, well, you guys aren't even paying your rice, so why? But you don't have any problems asking for help or something like that. It's like, again, really speaks to his character. All right, so Gustav is a bit, worried about. He makes a fairish point. Why would I risk basically Tinto or our lives when we, can't even be, or we're not even being fed or something like that. Which would be fair, but like, what's the point of being allies against an enemy if it's contingent on certain thing? Like, I don't know. Just seems kind of weird. Again, what's the point of being allies? So this meeting was kind of interesting. Just kind of how I wouldn't say. I'm trying to think of the right word here. How small that some of these leaders can be. They're not really thinking about the big picture, and I do know at a certain point. And I don't think it was there in the meeting, but now I can't remember what character brings this up, but they say something about how basically you think that when Highland Army is finished with, we'll say South Window, you think that they're really going to stop there. They're going to come for you too. So again, pretty good point, and maybe it's more appropriate later on when that kind of starts to happen once Highland is kind of captured a couple of areas. But kind of interesting. It's a good lesson in kind of like together we stand and apart we fall, sort of one of those deals. So, anyways, all right. So heading back to the inn here. Victor obviously complimenting Annabelle on how she, stayed strong, when she was talking to five heads of state or something like that, and they're all men, so, she still, wasn't pulling any punches in there. Alright, so, the idea here is that, now we need to hold off the Highland Army for a few days for reinforcements to arrive. Good old Victor. Victor the ladies' man, or at least the ladies' man in Annabelle's case. Alright, yeah, so Annabelle says, sorry for even getting you involved to this point, and obviously we're going to volunteer our help. Okay, and there you have it. After the battle's over, talk to me about Master Genkaku. Very reminiscent of Game of Thrones fans, the very first season there, where, Ned Stark says to his son, Jon Snow, if you want to know about your mother, come talk to me or we'll talk about it when we're, like, what does he say, when I see you next? So, anyways, alright, so, let's, actually, you know what, we're basically out of time here, so this is going to be gonna save our game and call it a day. Close, we will beat them. Yeah, so our job is to slow them down. Alright, so anyways, I'm out of time. As always, hope the guide was helpful, and hope you join me for more videos. Thanks for watching.